All right, here we go. Welcome to Basketball Clubs International's Courtside Live. I'm your host, Adrian Branch. BCI's CSL is a series of real-time, online, interactive public events that connect professional basketball players to kids and fans around the world. This event features unprecedented access to players about both practical and spiritual aspects of life in the pros. Thanks to Athletes in Action for partnering with us on this CSL event. You can check out their website at www.athletesinaction.org. That's www.athletesinaction.org. We're happy to host this BCI Courtside Live via FB Live using Blue Jeans on social. Now, let's meet the participants joining us tonight. David Booth, the big fella, begins his 8th season with the New Orleans Pelicans, his 5th as director of player personnel. David came to New Orleans from his alma mater, DePaul University, where he served as an assistant coach in 2009. His first NBA experience came as a regional scout for the Memphis Grizzlies from 05 to 09. Prior to playing 13 years of professional basketball, all I want to know is the knees and back still operating. Your knees and back still good, David.
Barely.
There we go. He was a 4-year letterman at DePaul from 1988 to 92, where he ranks in top 10s in all the major categories: scoring, field goals, steals, free throws, blocks, and is second in the school's all-time scoring list at 1,933 points and third with 713 field goal attempts. Then we also have Marvin Singleton from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Smile for me, Marvin. Got the game face on. Smile for me, baby. There we go. Smile goes a million miles. An impressive young man attending Hopkins High School, where he won 3 state titles consecutively in high school and will go on to complete a marketing degree with an emphasis on advertising and digital marketing at the University of Northern Iowa, where he was a part of the longest winning streak in Panthers history. Following graduation, Marvin went on to tour in China and then returned to Cedar Falls to win a championship with the Cedar Valley Court Kings on the Midwest Basketball League in their inaugural season. Most recently, Marvin played in the National Basketball League of Canada for the London Lightning, having another record-setting season and winning another championship. And then we also have Tyrone Ellis. Ty, my man, helped guide the 2017 USA AmeriCup to a 5-0 record and a FIBA America Zone championship. As the current head coach of my neighbor, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona now. He's my neighbor, guys. When you talk about the NBA G League, Northern Arizona Suns, Ellis led the Suns to a 22-28 inaugural season in 2016. But under Ellis, 2 players signed, and Elijah Millsap earned a Gatorade call-up in the NBA season, both of whom signed a multi-year deal with Madison. Then also, Coach Ellis had his playing career playing all over the globe in the United States, Germany, Turkey, Italy, and Spain, and also had stints in the Summer League with the Lakers and Dallas Mavericks. We begin tonight, and I remind the viewers you can ask questions when we get to them throughout the show. So, fellas, welcome. Happy to have you on there. David, I'm going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about your journey, man. Now you're with the NBA player development, which is a big thing. But what was your journey like coming from DePaul and to where you are today?
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks for having me on. I've been, hearing about this program for a long time. I'm excited to be on and excited what this BCI Courtside Live represents. My journey is pretty interesting. I've been, truly blessed my whole life. I've started playing at DePaul, as you said, 88 to 92, but I'd like to tell people it was 50 pounds ago. But played 4 years there, then was able to play 13 years professionally, and it was a funny story. One of the tryouts that I have was back in '96 when Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal came on the scene. And actually, I got cut from the Los Angeles Lakers. But before I got cut, Jerry West, who was the general manager there, pulled me to the side, gave me his phone number, told me to keep in contact with him. Fast forward 10 years later, I retired from playing and called him. I had kept in contact with him for every year, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and told him that I wanted to get into the professional side, scouting. And long story short, he ended up hiring me with the Memphis Grizzlies, and I was there 4 years and went back to coaching DePaul for a year. And then I've been with the Pelicans now for 8 years. And it's a good story. God's always blessed me. I've never been without a job. We live in a production-based business, but I've been very fortunate to always to have somewhere to go to work every day. So it's been great.
Wow, I'm impressed with that. Marvin, I got some ties in Minnesota, man. I played in that inaugural season. It's cold up in Minnesota. Tell us a little bit about your journey. What's your story?
Oh, well, like you said, played at Hopkins High School, had a very successful career there. Went on to Northern Iowa on the Missouri Valley Conference and got to see the world a lot there, like holiday tournaments. Went to Cancun, went to the Bahamas, so I got to see the world there. Then I had a pro tour in China, and then I played in the semi-pro with the Cedar Valley Court Kings. And the owner of the team, he was our sports radio announcer, so I knew him from college when I was at Northern Iowa. We went on to win the championship in an inaugural season there. Then last year, got a chance, first year turning pro, got a chance to win the championship there, breaking league records there. It was just fun. I got to play one of my high school teammates as well, and then also a bunch of other guys that I played with before. So it's been a great journey so far.
So would it be in October? Where are you headed now, or you still playing? Where are you headed now?
Yeah, I'm still playing. I'll be going to camp with the Iowa Wolves, the G League, the Minnesota Timberwolves G League team. I'll be going to camp with them in 2 weeks, and then also I'll sign another contract in Canada if I don't make the team for the Wolves. I'll be sign a contract in Canada, but with another team.
Okay. Coach Ty, talk to us, man. Fascinating story. You're my neighbor. I'm down in Phoenix, Arizona. And so you
All
up
right.
there in God's country in that sunshine, brother.
There you
Tell us
go.
some of
You're
your
right about
story.
that, man. All right, man. I'm from Dallas, Texas. Went to Carter High. Ironically, they just did a 30 for 30 on my high school a couple weeks ago. So I'm, proud to be from that school. And I went to an NAI school, Southern Nazarene University. Had a really good college year. And a quick story, I wasn't invited to the PIT. Although I was first team All-American, Player of the Year, all that stuff. But at that time, Marty Blake was kind of running the scouting with the NBA. And I contacted Marty, and he politely told me that the level, my college level is too low. And so I raised money, and I went out there anyway with a backpack full of tapes and bios. And if you guys have been to the PIT, you know how it's set up. And so I sat right at the bottom corner, so everybody who was leaving or was going to the restroom, they would pass me. And so I passed out my bios. Back then it was VHS tapes. DVDs wasn't invented back then, but I passed those tapes out. And Sharm Sherman, I did an AIA tour in college, and so Sharm and I became very close. And Sharm Sherman introduced me to everybody. And so Sharm Sherman, he kind of set the tone. And by the end of the week, I was upset because I know I can play at that level. And I wound up going to the local Y, and Mitch Kupchak is there. Mitch and I started talking. Mitch brings me in the gym, works me out for about 45 minutes, 30 minutes worth of running and sprints. And 2 weeks later, I got an invite to play on the Lakers Summer League team, and also got an invite from the Knicks Summer League from, I believe, Andrew Toney back then. He invited me to be on the Knicks Summer League team, and that's how my pro career started. And so fast forward to 11 years following that, the PIT, I retired. And by the grace of God, just like David did, everybody I met throughout my journey, I kept in contact with. So I was so strategic with that. I had an Excel sheet, and I made sure I contacted everybody on the holidays via text, email, and when I retired, I was offered 3 D League assistant jobs, and I retired in 2012, and I just completed my first year last year as a head coach. So I'm going into my 5th year, and my second year as a head coach. And so God has been so good, man. I didn't know anybody with Team USA, and they called me and invited me to be a part of that. So, I'm walking by faith every single day. So yeah.
I like that a lot. So Marvin, you're a D League person, so you're sitting right next to a D League head coach on camera. Keep that relationship.
Right.
But in
I will.
seriousness as well, I know we got some listeners, and we're going to talk to Sydney Curry coming up a little bit. So for you young people out there, I'm making notes as we're talking, and David already in his initial conversation stayed in contact with Jerry West, who brought me in with the Lakers. And my story is some of like yours, Ty, where I walked out to the Summer League and just tried out. Jerry West gave me that opportunity. So it's very, very similar. But for those listeners out there, both Coach David and Coach Ellis are saying it's relationships. It's relationships. Don't burn bridges. Keep those relationships. And also with Marvin overachieving, where he's going to a Northern Iowa where he had tremendous success. So don't be afraid of success. Don't be afraid of failure. I love that already, guys, taking the initiative and having relationships. Let me flip it just a little bit and talk about the hottest subject, guys, where they're talking about the flag, what you stand for, what you don't. I would love to hear you guys' perspective. Let me start first and say, hey, you know what? I've been overseas, Israel, Spain, Turkey, France, Australia, Thailand, the Philippines, Dominican Republic, and I love America. I'm still one for standing for the flag because this is still a great country with its flaws. Ty, you and Marvin jump in there. Don't keep it going. What do you guys think?
I pretty
Go
much
ahead,
think the
Marvin.
same thing. Like David was saying, like we live in America. It's a free country. You're free to do whatever you want to. Like I was talking to one of my friends about it one time, and they said a great example. Like when you're sitting at home watching football games, basketball games, do you stand up and for the national anthem? Then do you put your hand on your chest during the national anthem when you're sitting at home watching games? I think that was like a great example. Like, do you have to like just be live for you to stand up? Like, what does it really mean? What does it really mean to you to stand up for the national flag? I think for some people, they had family that was like fought in wars, so then it may be a little bit more important to them to stand and put their hand on their chest. But for some people, it's just it's just a thing that people do before a certain event or certain before certain games. So like David said, I think it's just case to case, person to person. You feel free to do whatever you want to do, and I don't think it should be any harm or feelings towards anybody because they expressing their freedom to do what they want to do and how they feel.
I tell you, before I experienced the Team USA, I respected the flag and the national anthem, of course. But after experiencing my time with that, like I have a different reverence for it. I have a stronger respect for the flag and the national anthem, in doing what we did. I think the people have lost the topic of why they're kneeling, and unfortunately, the whole kneeling process has been uh, the it's about the injustice that's going on in America, and unfortunately, I'll give you a quick example. The Dallas Cowboys, they kneeled before the national anthem and before the flag was presented 2 weeks ago in Arizona, and they still got booed. And is it really about being disrespectful towards the national anthem? Because they didn't do it during it, but they still got booed. And so my question is, why was there boo? Why did the fans boo the Cowboys, and they stood for the national anthem? And so I think the main topic has been thrown out the window, unfortunately.
Well, let me beat this point on for you guys. And David, I know where you're active, so you can say as much as you can as far as legally and morally. Nothing crazy here. Let me go with Ty. Ty, you're in Arizona, and they have the Army bases, and it is big America pride there. Like you said, they were booing at that game. You're going to be in the G League. You guys are getting ready to start. What's your take on that? And I ask in total curiosity.
My thing is, when I'm on company time, I'm representing Mr. Robert Sarver and the Sun's brain, and so I respect that, and I have to do what's best for my family, obviously. So to keep my job, I have to abide by the rules. Now, so what Jerry Jones did and said, I understand that because it's his business, and the players and coaches are employed by them, by him rather. And so if guys want to protest, you can still protest after the game or on your day off. But when you're being employed by somebody and they set guidelines, I understand that.
Okay. Hey, Marvin, as a player, now with you going overseas and playing, or say playing in Canada, is that any relevance when they're playing, God Bless the Queen or in Canada? Is there any relevance to kneeling or not kneeling?
Uh, when I was over there, no, to me it wasn't. But I think how like David said, like it's kind of put you in a tough situation, and also how Coach Todd said, like depending on like what your company stands for, like or like on company time, like I feel like if it's like if it's written in your contract or that's what the standard is or that's what expected of you, then that's what you should do. But if you guys are doing it in unity, then I think it'll be fine and acceptable. Like not everybody will like. I mean, not everybody likes what you do anyway. So I mean, as long as you guys are doing it together, you and your teammates and the management, everybody doing it together. Like when Jerry Jones, like he kneeled with his whole team. He's a boss man, and he kneeled with his whole team. So that showed that everybody was together. It wasn't just like a couple of players sitting down, a couple of players standing up, a couple of players in the locker room and stuff like that. Like everybody was doing it together. So I think if everybody's doing it in unity, it'll be accepted within the organization. Nobody else has to like it. It's all about whatever you guys want to do as a
Okay.
family.
I'm going to flip the switch a little bit, and I think this is appropriate. How has your faith helped you in your journey? Marvin, I'll start with you. How has your faith, trusting in God, helped you navigate being a young guy? You're at your full strength. It's nothing like being in your 20s. Hey, can I get an amen from David and Ty? It's nothing like being
Amen.
and so, but how has that helped you try to stay on the straight and narrow?
I think first of all, you got to have a relationship with God, and you have to be able to, hear Him when He's talking to you. I think that's the biggest thing when you're praying and having faith within Him, whatever you're asking for, that He'll give it to you. And then next, I think is having a great support system. Like having where it could be a family or close friends or maybe some coaches that helped you grow up within basketball. Somebody that's always going to be there supporting you, like when you're having your tough days, when you're wondering about like where the next job's gonna come from, or maybe one day you're just like struggling, like man, I don't feel like working out today or something like that. Everybody has their down days. Not everybody's perfect every single day, but I think that's the best thing is to make sure you have a relationship with God and that you can actually hear Him when He's talking to you and believing and having faith, but also having a support system. So like those the rough days that you have, they'll be your motivation because I mean you always have self motivation every single day to push yourself to get better with
Gotcha.
whatever you're doing in your life, but also having a support system, just to think about them like what would they want me to do, or they gonna always continue to be there for you, or you can go to them for for words of encouragement and stuff like that.
Coach, beat on that point.
My thing is with the journey, because of my faith, I'm embracing the journey. I'm not worrying about my next job. I'm not worrying about, this coach getting hired or somebody who I don't think uh, deserves it. I focus on Ty. I'm embracing what God has in store for me. I'm embracing the ups and downs, and like I don't really. I'm so excited to be where I'm at now because God is preparing me for something. And so through the ups and downs, I know it's for a bigger purpose. And so for me, my faith is everything because it just, my grandmother says, if you pray or worry, you can't do both. And so I just choose to pray.
Uh-huh. When has that? When have you gotten to that point? Is there a verse that you stand on? Is there a go-to verse like mine? I like Ecclesiastics 5. I think it's 21. It's God made man plain and simple, but we've made ourselves complicated. So try to keep it simple.
Mm,
Has there ever been a
yeah.
go-to verse over the years that you've gone to?
Yeah, mine is Mark 10:27. With man it's impossible, but not with God. All things are possible with God. And so coming from an NAIA and has experienced, playing in the Euro leagues and all these things, I know God got me. If I just remember what He has done for me thus far. And so when I hit adversity, when I hit adverse situations or, things that by the human flesh mind isn't fair, I just
Yeah,
I just think about the time God has brought me through.
gotcha. Dave, hit that point. What's your faith mean to you? You know, higher the level, bigger the devil. New level, new devil.
You're right about that. You're right
I
about
like
that.
that one.
First, yeah, it's the truth. My go-to verse is Romans 8:28, and we know all things work together for good for those who love God and called according to His purpose. And for me, there are ups and downs. I mean, we live in a production-based business. I mean, if you're in sports, especially, you're in a production-based business. You losing games, you're winning games, and you could be gone. You might be here next year. And with my faith, it kind of gets me to the point of you know, whatever happens is going to be for the best. I've had bumps in the road overseas where I had teams that didn't want to pay me, so they did certain things to try to discredit me as a person, and God worked that out for the best. And so what I've always tried to stand on and what I pray about every morning is that God gives me strength to follow Him and not man. Man can deceive you. Man can, try to make you afraid of tomorrow, but God's always going to be God. And like I said, and the reality of it is, I'm even okay if I wasn't in sports, to be honest with you, because maybe God only wants me to be in sports, this year or next year. Who knows? But whatever He has for me, I'm comfortable with it because He's always had my back. And me being 47 years old, I don't believe He brought me this far to leave me today. So that's the comfort that I have in knowing Christ.
While you guys are tell me a teammate or so. I've got two of them really. AC Green was a heck of an example. He was a strong believer, very, very consistent. Was there ever a teammate in college or a colleague in the pro that you guys loved their example? I had another one that broke our heart. You guys remember this name, Lynn Bias, that died of
Mm.
cocaine.
Hmm.
University of Maryland. We were teammates for 3 years. He wasn't a bad guy. He just got himself into something he couldn't get out of.
Mm.
But where I'm going with this one is I loved AC's example because his walk matched his talk. He was so consistent and so fired up for Jesus. Is there an example in college or in the pros? I'll start with you, Marvin, that there was an example, even a coach or something that you really admired and wouldn't mind patterning some of your lifestyle after?
I would say last year when I was in London, playing for London Lightning. My teammate Ryan Anderson, he played at the University of Nebraska. He's from Seattle. I would say him. He's 29, so he's a little bit older than me, but he took me in as a rookie, and he just just showed me the ropes, about being a professional, what it takes to be a professional, but also keeping your faith within God. Don't let adversity, get to you. Don't let things that coaches and things are gonna happen. Between the organization stuff like that, things are gonna happen, but don't never let it affect you as a person or your path and your journey as far as going in basketball and in life in general as well. So I would say like his faith
Gotcha.
and his strong beliefs, he really showed me, like what it takes to, be a professional and also, keep my faith within God throughout whatever you're dealing with within life and also balance it with basketball too.
Gotcha. Ty,
Yeah,
Dave?
for me, my college coach Bobby Martin, um, coming from the area that I came from, and going to a predominantly white school, like I was rough around the edges, and he taught me the importance of integrity. He defined that, and so that, I mean, he just changed my life. And also, one of my real close friends is Mike Wilkes. Mike actually is a pro scout for the Thunder, and Mike and I were roommates in the D League in the inaugural season in 2001, believe it or not. And
Yeah.
Mike and I, doing that, we were 23, 24, I believe, and we had Bible study, and we had Bible study at our house, and we invited people from the local colleges of athletes. And so, other people, other young men were doing their thing, and Mike and I stayed true to course. And Mike wound up playing, I believe, 9 or 10 years in the NBA, and he was the last pick in the draft in the inaugural season. So, Mike is a very, very close friend of mine.
Ty, go ahead. Ty, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were saying that Mike Wilkes was an influence, and it just froze on me. Go ahead and finish that point. You guys were teammates, and
yeah. Mike and I were rookies together in Huntsville, Alabama, and we were also roommates. And Mike is a extremely strong believer, and we would have Bible study at our apartment and invite our teammates and other college athletes from Alabama A&M, and it was
that's
great,
a rival
man.
school, man. That's a rival school. Got you. Dave, what's your story? Any influences?
Yeah, well, I played in the CBA, and I had a player. I know you guys probably remember Marvin. He's probably a little old for you, but you guys remember Billy Thompson that played at Louisville years ago.
Yeah, my teammate with the Lakers.
He was really inspirational, and he really walked the talk, and it was exciting to be around him, and I think he's pastoring right now in Florida, if I'm not
Yep,
mistaken. We kind of
yep.
lost contact, but yeah, he was really good to be around and just to watch him, and his prayer life, and it just was really motivational to see him and to be around him every day.
Man, that goes a long way because it's a long season, and a lot of things, guys, more things are caught than taught. So a lot of people may not tell you that, but you'll pick up on those examples, like Marvin was saying with the veteran that took him alongside and said, "Hey, rookie, come on." And then, like you said, Billy Thompson, we were rookies together, David. We broke in with the Lakers together. So I'm trekking with you guys, and this is a good segue because we're going to bring in a young guy that's got a lot of basketball potential out of Indiana. And I'm going to bring in here Sidney Curry Jr. from Fort Wayne, Indiana. He's a junior year. He's got a good basketball career. And I'm looking forward to talking to this young man. And he's got an opportunity to talk to an NBA scout and the NBA G League head coach. So, Marvin, if you're out, Sidney, if you're out there, come on in. We want you to join our crowd here. Can you hear us, young man?
Yeah, I can.
You got any questions? I know you've been watching the program and you got some friends out there. Is there anything that you heard or any question that you'd love to ask some of these guys that's been on the panel? Go ahead and take your shot.
For Mr. Booth, when it comes to selecting the player, what's the process from the beginning to end before you make that decision?
Good question.
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, good question, Sydney. One of the big things that we concentrate a lot of our efforts on is intel. We want to make sure that we know what we're getting. And Sydney, I'll be the first to tell you, nobody's perfect. Everybody has uh, something that they have in the closet, but we always want to make sure that we don't get surprised with anything. So intel is really important. Character is really important. Culture of the team is important. So we just want to make sure that we get guys that fit what we stand for. So we will go all the way back to high school, talk to the high school coaches, talk to the AAU coaches. We'll talk to the college coaches. We'll talk to the college down because we think that they're going to give us the real Sydney because they don't have any ulterior motives. So background intelligence is really important. I think the easy part of it is seeing if you can play or not, seeing if you have the talent or not. I think that's the easy part of it. But the background and getting to know you behind the scenes is what we really work hard to do in the NBA.
Ty, hit that point because you're coaching them too, and that's right before the NBA, and some of them are now two-way players that are coming up. What would you look for through a young Sidney and of course a Marvin? What are you looking for?
Just what David said, it's character because we can watch video to see if your style of play fits our coaching style. But it's the other issues because you don't want anybody to come in to tarnish the Suns brand or the Pelicans brand. The ownership, the management, they they're very protective over that, and you don't want anybody to come in and mess up your locker room as well. And so skill and talent, just like David said, that's the easy part. I mean, we can do that easy, but it's the other intangibles, whether or not a guy is selfless, whether a guy is willing to put his ego to the side and do what's best for the team.
Marvin, you're closest to age to Sidney. What would you tell this young warrior as an older warrior yourself that's still playing?
I would just tell them, like David said and Coach Todd said, biggest thing is character. I know for myself, personally speaking, like sending my tape out to people, but also then like once I get in front of somebody, that's the biggest thing, being able to withstand relationships, being able to hold conversations, and just being yourself, and just allowing people to allow being in a position to show people like who you really are, not just Sydney as a basketball player, but also like just Sydney as a regular person.
Gotcha. What else you got over there, Sidney? I know you rolling, man, before basketball season. Strike up the band again.
Marvin, what's the most difficult thing of living overseas for you?
Well, for me, as far as overseas for a full season, I only been to Canada, so that wasn't really too much of a difference. But last summer I went to China. I was over there for like a month. I got to kind of get a little bit of taste of like what it's like to be overseas and like away from your family. So I was like 13 hours ahead from everybody back at home. So it's like you don't really get to talk to everybody as much as you want to because of the time change. Like I'm a half a day ahead of the people. The language barrier, people not understanding what you're trying to say, or like when you're trying to order food, stuff like that. And then it's probably just trying to like get around places, stuff like that. But I really haven't had the chance to experience like a full season like out of in a different foreign country. Canada is pretty much kind of like being in America, so I haven't really had that experience yet.
Hey, Sidney, let me jump in there as well because I played overseas a lot, and I love to hear Dave and Ty's perspective. But I would say this too. Treat those places wherever you're playing. If you're playing in London, if you're playing in France, if you're playing in Spain, treat every game like it's game 7 of the NBA championship. So live in the moment, bloom where you're playing it. So if you're playing over in Israel, I wouldn't even look back at the moment. After the season, when your agent and your representatives can talk, but live in that moment. Make sure you play every game like it's game 7 when you're overseas. Treat those opportunities like it is the NBA. Dave, I'd love to hear you guys' perspective when you guys played overseas.
Yeah, I mean, it was really a blessing for myself and my wife and my kids. My wife, I've been married 24 years, and we were really fortunate to have our kids over there at the same time. And we also had family members come over. I know my sister Devin is on watching us right now. My mom, Yvonne, she's on watching right now. They were able to come over. Hi, mom. They were able to come overseas, and just to experience a different culture, different foods, different mentalities, different ways of doing things. I think for my kids, it was invaluable. I think they don't even know how big that was. Even today, my oldest daughter's 26, my middle child's 22, and my son's 18. And like I said, they spent all their years basically overseas, and they learned different languages, went to different schools. It's a little different right now for you guys because when I played overseas, we didn't have FaceTime, we didn't have cell
Yeah.
phones, we didn't have, we were doing a call back where you were talking $3.99 a minute, so you were getting on the phone
You're
and getting
old,
off. I
brother. That's
mean,
before cell phones. You're old.
Yes, sir.
yeah, man, it was. We were going to trying to find video stores to watch anything that spoke English. You know what I mean? So it was tough. So if it wasn't for my family, instead of me playing 13 years over there, it would have probably been two, so but it's a good opportunity. So I would say just soak up the culture. It's a small window of opportunity when you can play professional basketball
That's right.
overseas or even league or NBA. But I would say enjoy that culture, enjoy that experience because, like I said, you can look back on it and it makes you appreciate the United States as well when you come
Right.
back home. It really does.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, for
Ty, what's
sure,
your
for
take
sure.
on that?
I was extremely blessed, man. I played in Spain the majority of my career, and I was able to bring my family, my mother and father, and my wife, my mother-in-law, to Europe. They would have never gone to Europe. They had no idea or finances or anything to go to Paris or to Barcelona or to Madrid, and I was able to do that for my family. So as David said, like that means a lot to me,
Yeah.
to us rather. And my wife and son also traveled with me. I never went anywhere without my family. And so for my wife for us to now to talk about the vacation in Paris or what happened in Italy or whatever. So those times are priceless. It got so good. I was naturalized to play for the country of Georgia. And so,
Wow.
like, I was able to play with, Zaza Pachulia for his country, and the relationships that I've built along my European journey, they're priceless. And so, the only negative thing is I played for 10 years in Europe, but my family in the States, they got old. And I missed so many birthdays, and my
Wow.
my
Gotcha.
my
Yeah.
grandmother passed, and
Yeah.
you know I'm doing my job so far. I just can't leave when something happens like that. So I missed out on a lot of special moments within my family, but understanding that I'm a young man and I had to work, and so but that was
Gotcha.
the only negative part about it. But I loved it.
Hey, Sydney, you got any other questions before we let you go?
Oh yeah. Uh, Coach Ty, does coaching the G League prepare you for the NBA?
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. What the biggest thing it prepares you for is to prepare for the unexpected. And there's one thing that's important about this sport and this business for Sydney and Marvin. And I'm sure Adrian and David can attest. Either you will have humility or you will be humble, and it's going to happen. And the G League gives young players an opportunity to embrace humility and to have humility. And when you have that, there's no ceiling to how good or how far you can go. And I see it every year, guys, from these big colleges, and it didn't work out like they planned on it working out. And then they come to the G League, and some of them last because they embrace the humility role, and then some of them don't last because they think they're too good for this level. And so the G League prepares you, man, in so many ways, and it's a huge blessing that the NBA is focused on player development.
Let me ask you guys this. Before we let Sydney go, give him some parting wisdom. What's one thing you would say, and it might be the same statement differently. Marvin, what's one thing you would say to this young guy that wants to do like you, play at a high level in college and then play for pay? So let's give Sydney some parting wisdom before he rolls.
I would say keep your relationships with everybody you come in contact with because at this level, it's about who you know, not what you know. So I would say keep your relationships with everybody because they can always help you back. You can always lean back on somebody that can help you get a job in the future, and then just keep the work ethic every single day.
Gotcha. Coach Ty, give him some parting advice.
Sydney, whether you believe it or not, Sydney Curry is a brand, right? And so when people read your name, they're going to associate with it something negative or something positive. And so make sure people, when they hear your name, it's in a positive light, and embrace the process and enjoy the journey.
That's good. Hey, Sydney, I'd love to give you this as well. I played 11 years of professional basketball, 4 years in the NBA with the world champion LA Lakers, Portland Trail Blazers, Minnesota Timberwolves, and overseas. And I'd love to tell you this. If you don't remember anything else, just like what they said with those relationships and taking advantage of opportunities, use basketball. Don't let basketball use you. Use
Mm-hmm.
basketball. So take advantage of just what Marvin is saying, Coach Ty was saying, Big Dave was saying. Take advantage of this. Do you have to apologize that you're a gifted and talented basketball player? No, heck no. You don't have to apologize for that, but you got to be responsible. So fan that gift into a flame, take God with you, man, and be curious. Approach people like you've never heard of basketball before because you might get some good advice that you never heard. So be curious, stay humble, and keep working hard, man.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for hanging with us today.
Yeah.
Sidney
Thank you,
Curry,
Sydney.
everybody, a young man from Fort Wayne, Indiana, who's going to be a star. So we appreciate that one here. Some kind of way, we got to get Big Dave back on the line again as a presenter. All right, so guys, let me ask you this. We talked about standing or not standing for the flag. And like you said, it's case by case and sensitivity. And, you know, the Bible even says each man must stand or fall before his own God. Let me ask you guys this. Let's go back to college basketball, where we've all had success. The big flap is about the meat market with Adidas and the shoe companies and players and families taking money. My question to you guys, and you can go anywhere you want with this. I'll start with you, Coach Ty. Can they clean it up? I don't think we're going to see it in our lifetime. They may be able to use words like monitor, but can they clean it up?
You know, I don't know because I went to an NAIA school, to be honest with you, so I wasn't heavily recruited. I do want to say it's because they're giving all these young men everything, it's creating a sense of entitlement. And it's and we're enabling these young men and we're creating bad habits for them. And so
What do you
I'm
mean?
sure David
Give me that for instance for right there. The sense of entitlement from what?
for life, you know, they basketball is such a facade and it's a horrible. I mean, it's a ruthless business. I'm not horrible, but it's a ruthless business, and it doesn't prepare them for the business side because everything is given to them. And I
Mm-hmm.
see it every day at the G League level. I see it every day at the NBA level. You know, just watching and observing some of the young guys around the league. And so I pray that it cleans it up. Whether or not it stops it, I don't know because I was never a college coach and I never
Mm-hmm.
had to do. I mean, my job wasn't based on recruiting, you know. So I
You
don't
didn't
know.
have to get dirty. Is that what you're saying? You didn't have to get dirty.
Exactly.
Marvin, you were a player in Northern Iowa, Coach Jacobson, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So, and you guys are a hot ticket in your sphere. Can they curb this? What's your take on this?
Uh, I like. I don't know. I don't think it will really be cleaned up. I think it's just been going on for so long. It's just finally now coming out. I'm not sure that it will actually get cleaned up. I think that people probably be like more aware of stuff because like the investigation was saying like they had like undercover agents and probably people would probably just be like more careful with what they're doing than ever before. I don't really think that it'll be cleaned up or that it will stop. Maybe for a while it might slow down or die down just a little bit, but eventually like it'll just the people will find other ways or other loopholes to still to get what they want done and get who they want to come to their schools.
Dave, you were a big time college player, man. 1,900 career points. Can the NCAA, can we police ourselves in college basketball? What's your take?
Well, I hope so. I hope it gets back to the purity of college sports. There's so much positive that comes from college sport. Different people have different followings. It's my alma mater's DePaul. I love seeing them play. I love the time I had there. Me growing from a boy to a man. And so I hope that it does clean up, just for the simple fact, because it brings out so much positive. I'm not really sure exactly what the total investigation is going to come out, and show, but I am hoping that things get cleaned up, because there is a lot of positive that comes from college sports.
Well, let me ask you this one. Um, is the season too long, guys? Like the NBA just started 2 weeks earlier, and I understand about the branding, keeping the branding. College basketball regular season now is almost 32 games. Remember, Dave, back when we played in our era, it was 26 games and then a
Yeah, yeah,
tournament game, and now
yeah,
it's 35
yeah.
regular season. So let me ask you guys, is the season getting too long? I'll start with you,
For
Dave.
college or for pro?
Well,
For
go
college or
both.
pro?
Go both. I'll let you go anywhere you want with that.
I don't think it's well. This is the thing. This is my personal thought. I think, back when we were coming up, we didn't have AAU basketball. We had 5 Star, we had Nike
Yeah.
and BCI, not BCI, but BC
Be
Camp.
right down in Georgia.
In Richland,
I
Indiana.
got you. I got you. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's all we had. So nowadays these kids are playing 3 and 4 games a week, over the weekend, and so it's a little more rough on their bodies. I think that's where you see, people talking about, is the season too long, but I don't think the season's too long for college. I think the kids are young, 18 to 21 years old, 18 to 22 years old. I don't see it being too young. I think the NBA has done a great job of making the season start, 2 weeks early, to cut down the back-to-backs. I think they've addressed the issue of wear and tear on the body. I think they're always in thought mode of how they can. So I think everybody's on the right track as of right now.
Marvin, you're still playing. I know sometimes your knees and back get a little sore. Is that season too long for you in college basketball?
No, in college, I think that is like Dave said, playing AAU used to playing maybe 4 or 5 games in one day sometimes. So I think you just always used to playing, and when you get to college, it's kind of spaced out. You get 2 games, maybe 3 games once conference comes. When you get into a tournament game, you probably play like three games in 5 days or 3 games in 3 days. So I don't really think that is too long. I think it's at a right point. You get enough games, or get enough conference games. And then for professional level, I think it's just more science into things. People realizing how people could last longer in the NBA, trying to prevent as
Okay.
much injuries and things like that. So I think with the professional, the NBA season, I think that it's a good thing that they started earlier. And and get rid of back to back so much.
Got you. Button this point up, Coach Ty.
Yeah, no, I think the college season is great. I mean, these are kids. If they wasn't playing, they will still be playing. So at least they're controlled games now, and it also builds camaraderie and discipline and things of that nature. So I think the college game is great. Regarding the NBA, it's a lot of games, man, and I understand what the Spurs do by resting some guys because you want to win a championship, and so I think starting the season two weeks earlier did help out with that, but also the two-way players, having guys in the G League, I think that will also help with the lack of with the wear and tear on the NBA players' bodies.
Got you. Well, you know what? I call college basketball, and the more games I call, the more games I get paid. So I'm with you guys now. Bring on a long season.
Right on.
Let's go year round.
Right.
Guys, before we close, give our audience one more bullet point. What's your philosophy? Give us an encouraging word for our great country of America. Dave, I'll start with you, and I'll finish up with Marvin. Dave, Ty, Marvin, give us a good nugget to finish this show on.
Well, I'm actually reading a book right now, talking about the war within. Actually, my mom, she she directed the book to me, and I think we have to first of all take responsibility, for our own actions in life. I think we also have to trust God, try to seek out His will in our life. I think we have to have faith in what He wants us to do, and have that He's going to be the ultimate judge in the end. We got to trust Him, even though we don't see. Um, Even though we don't see the future, we know who holds the future. And I think really, like I said, the verse that I hold on to is Romans 8:28. And I really believe that us as a country have to understand that this world, we're on the clock, and you gotta be accountable for yourself, and you got to understand that one day you're going to have to, and you have to make sense of that when you get there. So that's kind of what I want to leave everybody with.
Wow. Coach Ty?
Respect. I think the lack of respect amongst the different religions or the political views or what have you, like the lack of respect is part of the main issue. I'll talk to my parents about what's going on at work. Or I talk to my friends, or I hear my wife talking to her girlfriends, and it's always, well, somebody did this or they did that, and at the end of the day, very seldom do we treat people like we want to be treated. And in the sports world, and like just respect, man. Let's just respect each other and treat people how we want to be treated, even though you have a different opinion.
I like it. Our rookie,
And
young
Aiden,
Marvin, bring us home, baby. Bring us home. Give us a nugget.
I was gonna say, pray and have faith, and then two things I like to go by is iron sharpen iron. So make sure you surround yourself with people who are sometimes could be better than you, or they're ahead of you. They're at where you want to be or where you want to get to. And also, man, don't work, don't eat. So make sure you work hard every single day or whatever you want to do in life.
I like that. Dave, you were going to say something. Go ahead, sir.
And I just was going to just say as well, we all have a purpose in a platform, different platforms to be used to magnify the Lord. And that could be, coaching, that could be playing, that could be working in the front office, that could be in the factory, that could be wherever. But whatever platform and wherever God has you to be, use that as a platform to uplift and glorify Him.
Wow, that was beautiful, guys. I think we covered some ground today. I'm really, really happy to team up with you guys, David Booth, Marvin Singleton, and of course Ty Ellis. Wow, thank you for coming and hanging today. And also on behalf of BCI, I want to thank our three panelists, as I just mentioned, joining us this evening, and those of you who are viewing in the listening audience for questions as well. To watch archive CSL events, go to bciedge.org, bciedge.org, and be sure to check us out on bluejeans.com, who've recently integrated with Facebook Live. And finally, a special thanks to AIA for partnering with BCI. On behalf of the BCI family, we thank you so much. And be sure to follow BCI on Facebook and Twitter for information on the next CSL event, which is going to be Tuesday, February 13th, just prior to the NBA All-Star Weekend. Guys, you guys are amazing. I salute you guys. And to you guys listening out there, good night, everyone.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. Thanks.